Welcome to the Fence and Deck Mastery Podcast, where we discuss cutting-edge techniques, industry trends, and business insights to take your fence or deck company to the next level and dominate your competition. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fence and Deck Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Danner, and also the owner and founder of Fence and Deck Marketers, which is a marketing agency that works exclusively with fencing and decking businesses. Today, I have an exciting show for you. I have Jason Davoll from TimberTech, who is the head of sales execution for repair and remodel at James Hardie. So very long title there that I had to make sure I got right. But Jason's been around very long time with TimberTech. I think just about everybody knows him, and I'm really excited to have him on here to talk about some of the new offerings they have, and we're going to dive a lot deeper into a whole bunch of things. But Jason, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. How you doing, man?
Awesome, Alex. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for having me. And sorry about the new title. We're all still kind of figuring it out. I need to figure out how to make that a little shorter and easier to say, roll off the tongue. So thanks for having me, though, Alex.
Yeah, no problem. So I was saying all kinds of new stuff. I was at the TimberTech Summit, and really thanks to Jason for inviting me out there to do some different speaking in classroom engagements there. But I got to learn a lot of things and learn about the new products that they were releasing. So thought it'd be great to kind of talk about that, since so many of our clients are using TimberTech, but also just the fact that so many contractors in general use them. So to kind of get started, we'll just dive right in and learn a little bit more about that. But I always like to learn a little bit, backstory of everybody that comes on here. So it'd be great to know, Jason, we can talk about how long you've been with TimberTech, but it'd be great to know kind of how you got started in it, maybe, where you started, how you ended up there, and, kind of your journey through the company, and, how you've progressed and maybe had different roles, things like that.
Yeah, thanks for that tee up. I have one of the most boring LinkedIn profiles that you can find. I actually started with TimberTech. My 20-year anniversary is in 2 days. So,
Oh, wow.
Just at
Congrats.
about yeah, thank you. Just at about 20 years. I was a engineer undergrad, and I became aware of at the time was a smaller company. TimberTech was opening up a second factory in Columbus, Ohio, close to where I went to school. And they were starting up our one of our composite railing factories, and they were looking for an intern to help out with some of the manufacturing engineering work. So I started as an intern just about 20 years ago. I did kind of plant engineering for the first about 4 years of my career, and that's essentially like lining up, like setting up the equipment, designing the processes to go from like raw material to finished good, figuring out logistics, and then working on a lot of the equipment. I had a team of 5 maintenance folks that, did the installation work. I got to learn to do a lot of hands-on stuff in that process. Welding, turning wrenches, all that kind of fun stuff in the factory, and absolutely loved it. Along the way, I was at the time we were starting to use that factory for plant tours. So a lot of contractors and lumberyard folks were coming through the factory to see how our products were made, and I was asked to give a lot of those tours. And I really enjoyed at the time, it was early in my career, but just talking to contractors and hearing, hey, here's what I like about, at the time, like I was focused on our railing products. Like, here's what I like about it. Like, it installs really well, but I wish it had like this feature. And so I started to get kind of that feedback and kind of make those connections with a lot of contractors that were installing AZEK or TimberTech products in those early days. Which led me to the next kind of 14 years of my career. I was a product manager, developing new railing products, some of our accessory products. And then in the last few years as a product manager, I launched a lot of the decking products that TimberTech now sells today. And that was just an awesome opportunity. I'm very passionate about the products we sell. I think TimberTech offers some of the best products in the outdoor living space, and really it comes from a place of we have a mindset of just continuous improvement and always just listen to our customers and figure out how to make our products best for obviously the homeowners, but also be installation friendly and really help our contractors effectively, install the product profitably, and then provide a great, experience for their consumers. Which then led to kind of the most recent phase of my career, which started a couple years ago, where I started leading our contractor segment first at TimberTech. So we stood up kind of a new branch of our sales team that was just laser focused on how can TimberTech be a better partner to all contractors, from any elements of our business, from listening to feedback on the products to all the kind of non-product value added things we do. So like our loyalty program, leads, all that kind of stuff, is where I would focus a lot of attention. And then I'm sure we'll get into this a bit, but last year, the AZEK company was purchased by James Hardie, and a pretty exciting change in the category, which our company is the new James Hardie is working through some of the change that has occurred and will occur through that acquisition. But one exciting thing is I've now have the opportunity to be a part of the larger sales organization. So I now am honored to have responsibilities over our R&R business, which is contractor focused, for our fiber cement business and our outdoor living business. So that's where it stands today. Very passionate about supporting our deck builders and contractors out there to deliver them as much value as we can to help them grow and grow profitably.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you got your hands full now, for sure. As if you weren't busy enough. That's good. It sounds like, I mean, just talking before and every time I've talked to you or anybody else, it sounds like the whole transition's been going great and everyone likes, working with everyone from Hardy. Everyone that I met there seemed almost like the same kind of culture too. It seemed a lot of the, I guess, people that seemed would fit in with the TimberTech team members that I met. But I did want to talk about uh, the lead system because I want to make sure people know about that. And I will say with TimberTech, we have clients who work with everybody, but it always kind of seems TimberTech is more passionate, very passionate contractors, I guess. They're more likely to say like, "Oh, I'm only going to use TimberTech," whereas other brands might say, they'll use whatever, they'll use other ones. But what I know several things myself that have really stuck out to me. Like the lead system is a big one. That one, of course, since that's my business is making leads. But what other? Well, I guess let's talk about that just a little bit so people
Yeah.
know how that works and how you guys can generate leads and what you need to do to get those.
Yeah. So I'll just start with a really quick plug. We have a contractor loyalty program for TimberTech. It's called the Board, and it's absolutely free to join. There's no hurdles to join. So if you're using TimberTech products or even interested in using in building decks, join the program. And it's the first thing that happens. It connects you to either our inside sales rep, and or a local field rep that lives in your market. The benefits are actually pretty vast, and this is like the loyalty program. We just focus on how can we make it more valuable to our contractors every single year. But as a part of that process, we sent out a survey, actually a quarterly survey, but we ask about the loyalty program once a quarter to our contractors, or sorry, once a year on that quarterly survey. And what always comes up as the most valuable thing they find from their partnership with us. Besides, the product stuff, it's it's leads and locators. So how that works, you join the board, you meet with your local sales rep, you show them that you do quality work, and you can represent the TimberTech brand the same way you want to represent the brand of your outdoor living company, and then we have the ability to put you on the TimberTech website, um, and deliver leads to you. So um, when I uh, when I started to get involved with our contractor program about 3 years ago, I heard a lot of mixed feedback on the leads that people were getting from TimberTech, and so we put really a tiger team together to like just focus on this topic, because we said, like, if this is what's most meaningful for our business, our TimberTech contractors, like, how do we put more energy into it? So we had a group of people on the digital marketing side of TimberTech working on how do we drive more homeowners. We have millions of homeowners come to the TimberTech website every year. How do we get them to start the process of finding a contractor in their market? And so a lot of effort got put into that, which delivered better quantity of contractors. We also changed some of the languages on the forms that people fill out to make it clear, like, what the next step in the process is. And that helped with the quality a bit of the leads that we deliver to homeowners. And so, where I want to go with this is what we've heard, like, it's incremental, but over the past 2 years, we continue to hear better and better feedback from our contractors that, you know, the leads I get from TimberTech, they're rarely their primary lead source for that contractor. The primary lead source is from doing a lot of the stuff that you work with contractors on doing, but it's 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 a growth engine, and it's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And we see it as, like, we don't charge contractors for the leads that they get from TimberTech. So we put a lot of energy behind delivering more and better leads to our contractors. We've done things on our website like enhance the profiles. So just the profile page, so you find your company on timbertech.com, and now, like, you get up to, I think, 9 images of project work you've done. You can include your Google rating. You can include the services that you offer. I'm sure I'm going to forget a few things that we've done. So really, the point is, on our leads and locator efforts, we're going to continue to make this better, because we recognize that our goal is to provide a great experience for a consumer that wants a TimberTech deck, and we know the only way for the consumer to have a great experience is for us to connect them with a great contractor that's going to provide that experience. So, we're just trying to play matchmaker and connect, all these homeowners looking for a deck with a contractor that's going to do a great job for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that piece right there, I think with contractors, just leads are just the most obvious thing. And I mean, you don't have leads, it's going to be very hard to scale and very stressful to kind of do all that stuff. So, definitely not surprised that was the main priority. And anybody that's listening, that's obviously what we do. So I know like what people say and what they prefer and the different lead sources. And TimberTech easily, I mean, without a doubt, is the number one we hear the most, and like getting consistent leads. So whatever you guys did there, and all that is clearly working. And just especially if you're not paying for them. I mean, I think saying icing on the cake is kind of a really good way of saying it, because it's just, you're not paying for it, you're using them. If you like the products, it's just like one more additional thing. And that's probably what has been a good part of the crazy growth, the growth that you guys are seeing, year after year. So that's really good.
Yeah.
um so but I would love to talk about what everybody was talking about. I'm not a contractor, so I don't understand the differences and pros and cons about different railings and framing and things like that, but I try to do my best, and it's cool for me to understand it. But I know that there's some very big developments with TimberTech now that just got released. The framing was a big one, and then you were also mentioning some railing and I think it was privacy screens. So
Yeah,
yeah, if you
yeah.
want to talk about
Look,
that, that'd be great.
I mean, look, we pride ourselves on being an innovator in the space. So, um, we launch new products every single year. Some of them might be, new colors to line up with the trends. So, we've had some new colors recently on our PVC decking in the Harvest Plus space, which is a new collection with two beautiful new colors, and then a few new colors on the composite side in the Train Plus collection. Um, some of the more innovative products that we've launched recently is, one thing that you hear a lot of contractors talk about, like just a theme over really many years, is the quality of wood has gone down. The quality of pressure treated has gone down, and pressure treated does not last as long as it used to last. So we've explored around this area of alternative framing for actually many years. And a few years ago, we really jumped in on developing an aluminum frame system. We actually took a product that was already in market but needed some refinement. We took, basically a year and a half to 2 years on redeveloping that product. And then we had 1 year where we're doing test jobs with contractors where we're just getting jobs out there. And we had crews or people on every single job site to see what they liked and what they didn't like. And then last year was our first full year with a TimberTech aluminum frame, and this will be our second year. It's a phenomenal product. I'll give you just a couple of reasons why. One, it provides a perfectly flat deck surface. So one of the things you see with pressure treated is, like, our contractors do so much work to provide a perfectly flat surface. They'll grade the joist, then they'll like plane them so they're perfectly flat, and then to make them last longer, they'll put joist tape on top, and then what inevitably even happens, even if you do everything right, as the board dries out, or you get some early rot, the surface becomes less perfectly flat. Aluminum frame, it's engineered to be perfectly flat at day one, and then many years into the future. So you go on to one of these jobs, and you get like the decking at eye level, and it's like, oh my goodness, like it looks beautiful. And it was like that automatically. It didn't take all this extra work to create a perfectly flat surface.
Yeah.
Other huge advantage with this aluminum frame is fire is becoming a bigger and bigger topic, especially on the West Coast. California, it's a huge deal. Colorado, it's a huge deal, and even in Texas, it's become a huge deal. And so the codes have been increasing in strictness around non-combustible materials. So in California, for instance, our aluminum frame allows you to have a non-combustible frame, and then using our PVC decking on top of it, you have a Class A flame spread decking material with ignition resistance. And for materials in our category, that's like the best case you can provide in a fire prone area. And then one other benefit I just want to hit on this system that I'm really excited about is we developed a stair system that that is a really cool design that allows for a much faster installation. And instead of having multiple stringers for a set of stairs, it's designed for, if you have a 4 foot wide set of stairs, you can have two stringers, and then you have a structural tread that you basically just put the deck board on top of, which enables you to do cool things. Like, a lot of people like to picture frame their treads of their stairs for like a super high end look. So you can do that really easily without any extra blocking. on the stairs. So it's a faster way to install stairs. And then if you talk to contractors, like what's the first thing that tends to rot on a deck? It's often that stair stringer that you cut
Mhm.
into and kind of, expose the grain on the lumber that might not have gotten like perfectly like treated in the treatment process. So um, I've talked to a few contractors lately that are like, you know, and I'm thinking about just doing the stairs on every single job, whether or not I can get the upgrade, because this is a premium product. Whether I can get the upgrade on the rest of the deck surface might be another conversation. But I'm just going to do aluminum stairs on anything. And by the way, I'll say like there are other companies are making alternative framing products, and I'm personally like excited for the category of better products for our contractors to build better spaces. So we're going to continue to innovate in this category, but I'm excited for more options to be out there for our contractors.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that warranty on the aluminum framing?
So it's a lifetime on the large structural components, 25 years on the connections. And then there's limitations around salt water.
Yeah, I would
But I will
imagine.
say from our testing, what we've seen, our hardware and our better salt spray performance than anything I've seen yet on the market.
Huh.
So I think in the future, we may take a stronger stance on installing around salt water because our stuff performs really well in some of those areas. But right now, we do have some limitations around salt water.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, one thing I've asked this question on the podcast before, and you'd be the perfect person to ask this because usually I ask contractors, but what do you see alternative framing, the boards, the 50-year warranties, all this stuff that's basically, and our clients will say, I want to install this and never have to see you again. It's like a your lifetime type product or installation. What do you see like going down the line? Do you think there could be potential problems with, there's no secret that you got to restain a wood deck every, 3 years or whatever. But like if you have PVC composites or, very nice stuff that TimberTech is selling along with aluminum framing or steel or, anything like that. Um, do you ever, do you guys ever worry that it will just kind of, people will just have and be happy and they won't need to replace it for 50 years or something like that versus now, wood's going to rot. Has that ever been a concern or, topic of discussion?
Well, it's one of the reasons we're passionate about the topic of aluminum framing. I mean, I don't know if my dad's going to listen to this podcast or not, but he has a 10-year-old TimberTech deck that's close to the ground in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it basically sits in a high moisture area because it's low to the ground and like enclosed underneath. And he's like mentioned to me like there's a few squishy spots on the deck where I'm certain like we haven't taken the deck boards up, but I'm certain the boards are starting to show rot after 10 years in a high moisture area. So look, and the deck boards, by the way, like look awesome after 10 years as expected. So like I'm super proud of that. But yeah, it's like this is why one of the reasons we're passionate about innovating in this space because like we want to create decks that are going to last a very long time, with the brand promise of TimberTech. Like that's why people buy TimberTech decks is to buy a deck that they don't have to replace. Like you have to replace a pressure treated deck. Beyond the fact that it's going to look beautiful at the same time. So it's an area we're passionate about, and I think the frame, could be stated as the weak link in delivering exactly what the homeowner is looking for today. So we're passionate about it. I'd probably focus on like what are the decks where it makes the most sense to upgrade materials and maybe even like what components. So like decks low to the ground, I think that are in those high moisture areas, like that seems like an obvious place. Yeah, let's go to an alternative frame material on that. Like ledger boards, like let's prevent ledger boards from rotting against the house. Stairs, as I mentioned earlier, like let's as a minimum, let's try to hit the weak, the weak components, the weak links of the deck.
Yeah.
I'll say. I mean, same thing with hardware. Like, without calling out any brands, I think some of the hardware companies are doing a nice job innovating and making products that are going to last longer, create better connections. We have a lot of deck fasteners that we spend an inordinate amount of time with salt spray testing and making sure they're code compliant. We're very focused beyond. I'll just summarize this. We're focused beyond just the deck board to
Yeah.
provide that long-term value for the homeowner.
And do you think like the, because I know you guys are always thinking of new innovations and the louver pergolas are real big and everybody's those are really easy to draw your eye there. But like do you think, I guess I wonder with with decking specifically, because people love their decks, it's something people want. It's not a roof, it's not a an HVAC unit or something like that. So kind of what I was wondering was like, if the framing and all of these things last so long and people don't need to repair it as often, um, would that be compensated with that innovation? Like if there's a deck needs to be replaced now in 50 years versus 20, um, to kind of like, keep the industry continuing to grow. Almost to me, it seems like the innovation that you and others are doing will keep people just wanting more and wanting to improve because it's cool and they like it. If they wanted to add an outdoor kitchen or something like that, or just enhance their, add on to what their existing deck is and other cool features. Um, I don't know. Have you ever thought, I guess, anything like that where those pieces might just kind of continue to keep the industry going because there's all this new cool stuff that people want, just like, anything else?
I absolutely think so. I mean, there is a whole trajectory or a spectrum, of deck projects or outdoor living products, I'll call it, that our contractors specialize in. We have some fantastic contractors that specialize in focus on more of the high volume. I don't think I should say like cookie cutter, but more standardized deck offerings.
Yeah.
And so, just like the spectrum of homes that are built, like that makes sense for a certain customer, and that's a perfect, beautiful outdoor living space.
Yep.
But like on another end of the spectrum, it's like you have your core customer, some of our core customers that are in the close to the retirement age, and they're thinking about their house like a forever house, and they have a lot of equity in their
Yeah.
home, and they're thinking, you know what, I want to make this a place where I can really enjoy. I can have the grandkids come over,
Yeah.
like where people are thinking about like other outdoor features, pools, all the kind of stuff that people can build into the outdoor living space. I think there's the whole spectrum, and developing your business like to cater to which customer you're going after. Um, if you're focused on that high end large projects, that's probably a little different business model that you have to be educated in a lot of different facets of the outdoor living space. Or if you're really focused on more the standardized deck offerings, like you can sell a lot of outdoor living projects. That might be for someone, in their first house, and maybe the home builder, just put in a patio, but like they're ready to enhance the outdoor living space. So
Yeah.
I'd say I think the answer to your question is yes, absolutely. Outdoor living spaces continue to grow and add features and add things you can do. There's just a whole, I just want to emphasize there's a whole spectrum of type of
Yeah.
deck projects that are out there. And it's really, I think it's up to the deck building company, the outdoor living company, to decide, where do I want to specialize, or do I want to try to do it all, and then how do you go about catering to those very different audiences?
Yeah. Yeah. I almost like think of it kind of like, bathroom or something like that, a kitchen that people actually want to do. I think the same thing as the outside. But yeah, people just are going to want to enhance their house and keep moving it forward. I guess it's just always something I was curious about and see what you thought. But so I guess you kind of talked on the contractors that the different models, the people that just want to just get in, get out, basically, the 20 by 10 deck or whatever, 20 by 20, something like that, cookie cutter type decks. We've had clients that do pretty much everything, I would say at this point. Someone that in high volume, someone the projects that are nice, big, elaborate, things like that. And I don't think there's one way is wrong or the other. It's kind of what the preference is, as long as you follow your numbers. But you probably know every the top most successful deck builders in the entire world, and who's the highest, the people that are buying the most materials from you. So is there anything you could say to people listening, maybe any kind of things that really stick out to you that makes them more successful than the others, anything like that that would help anybody listening?
I think I'll start with this. I think it's really helpful to get clear on who you want to be, and to what you just said. There's not necessarily one approach that's right or wrong, but like your strategy on who you want to be probably dictates a lot of the things that you need to do to become that company. So, um, like we work with some fantastic outdoor living companies that offer fairly standardized decks, and they really have to dial in for efficiency. So they have a standardized sales process. They have more standardized designs, and they basically build their business so they can be really focused on how do I get a lot of throughput and how do I standardize things, because I'm not selling $100,000 plus outdoor living projects. I'm selling more standardized projects. So I need to get to the number I want to be at as a company. I have to figure out how to do a lot of those processes in the business very efficiently. On the other side of the spectrum, we work with fantastic outdoor living companies that build these amazing elaborate outdoor living spaces that include a lot of the features that we were talking about earlier. And so, like, as an example, like, to sell a $500,000 outdoor living space, you in your sales process you probably need to think of, like, I need to have design and visualization that would cater towards a client that's going to spend $500,000, as an example, on an outdoor living space. That might be different than someone spending 25 or $30,000 on a deck. So I think when I see companies that are focused on defining who they want to be and who their customer is, and then building the business around who their customer is, those are the companies that I find tend to be most successful. The other thing that a plug that I would make in all of this is we are blessed to be a part of, like, a phenomenal community. Like, I think working in kind of the repair and remodel space, and especially in outdoor living, and now in exteriors, like, there's so many good people that love to help each other. One of, like, the most fun things that I get to do is, like, get to observe, like, companies really be successful and grow, and then meet another company that might be earlier on in the journey. They might know who they want to be, but they're like, oh gosh, I just need to learn from somebody that's done it. And, like, we as and James Hardy will do whatever we can to help those folks. But sometimes the most effective thing is to connect those folks with someone that's already done it. And because, like, we get the honor to meet and work with a lot of these contractors, like it's easy to pull up my phone and it's like, hey, we should call so and so, and there's just generosity, I think, in our category of sure, I would love to talk to him. I remember when, I was at that point in my journey, and so helped me out. I'd love to give him I'd love to spend some time with them and share some of my learning. So I think that's one of the coolest things about our category. And honestly, like one of the things I'm excited always to be a part of making connections in our category.
Yeah. Yeah, I would completely agree. I mean, it's incredible group of people. I mean, if you're going to, the summits that you do or the NADRA summits, being part of that, I mean, it really is amazing. And it's kind of refreshing too, I would say, in the outdoor living industry, just because if you're, it's not that this is a bad thing, but it's less like just purely number type people. I mean, when you go to the decking side, you find so many people that are just like crazy passionate about it. And when you see what they create, it makes it very obvious why, because it's just incredible what some of these people, what some of these contractors like put together. I mean, when I went to the NADRA Awards the first time with my wife, like we couldn't even believe, we couldn't even believe our eyes. We are like, this is unbelievable what they're putting together. So yeah, I think it's always just kind of been just I guess kind of blown away by like you said the generosity, but just the types of people that kind of get into this tend to have a lot more passion versus maybe a HVAC person. It's kind of a lot harder to have passion about installing HVAC units, probably is why or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I have enjoyed it. And you did mention, I just want to like highlight something. You said tailoring everything to the customers you want most. So that's a really important point. If you're trying to go after, I'll just use the example that you said, $100,000 plus projects, that's what you want to go after. You're not going to attract those people if you have some terrible website with pictures of a bunch of $20,000 decks on there or a bunch of wood projects. They're going to be going, the people that want to spend 100,000 are also going to be expecting really good, results, of course. But they want, they have money. If they're spending 100 grand on a deck, they have some form of money. So you want to show them the things that they're going to actually want. So if you want to go after a certain type of clientele, make sure all the marketing you do, not just the website, but anything you're doing is showing off that, because that's how you kind of build that reputation, is knowing you're going to be the guy that, can actually make that stuff a reality. So I just wanted to highlight that big piece there. But one last question related to that. Do you have any ideas that those bigger companies, the ones that are kind of selling just crazy amounts, are they typically more of those burn and churn, or they like the bigger projects, the more elaborate jobs?
Um, that's a great question. I think it varies a little bit by market. And so, some of the more mature deck markets, in I want to be careful not to overgeneralize markets, but some of the more mature deck markets, the expectation is probably more becomes raised, and like it's not like a deck, it's just an upgrade just to have a deck, but it's an upgrade to have an outdoor living space with with some shade structure, with an outdoor kitchen. So I think in the more mature markets, probably the larger companies tend to cater towards maybe a little of the higher dollar client, where
Mm-hmm.
the less mature um, deck markets, maybe like the southern markets, as an example, you can you can find some high volume companies that don't have to necessarily go after the high end clientele. If that doesn't make sense. I,
Yeah.
I think that probably the important answer is you can build a large business going in both directions.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
I think, but the easy answer is it depends.
Yeah. 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 I know it was a hard one. Sorry to put you on the spot, because I mean, I would say what we've seen is usually the burn and churn, but I also know plenty of big ones that like the more elaborate projects too. So yeah, I wouldn't really know either. So I was just curious if you had a different take on it. But now I have to ask because you kept saying mature deck markets, and I would love to know what you mean by that exactly, and like how they become more mature. I mean, is it? Well, I'll ask some other questions later. So, if you could talk about that and like how you guys analyze that, I mean, I would love to know, and I'm sure everyone listening would too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say one of the things I when I think about a mature market, it's like part of what we do is it's wood conversion. So you go back where TimberTech and our biggest competitor existed, like everything was a wood deck. And some of the markets started adopting composite decking earlier and started kind of upgrading from like the base model. So it tends to be northern, northern markets, the northern Midwest, Northeast. There's some other great deck markets. California is a great deck market. The mountains are great deck markets. So I'd just call those more mature markets that started adopting higher performing products earlier. That's what when I refer to more mature markets.
Yeah,
There's other pockets like, docks in Florida started adopting higher performing products pretty early too, but that might not speak for all of, you know, um, houses in that geography. I feel like whenever I talk about geography, I got to be careful because, someone will be listening that's like, hey, we do very high end projects in South Carolina, and there's absolutely very many high end, decks in South Carolina. So I don't
yeah,
want to overgeneralize.
yeah, yeah. No, it's something I think about a lot. Just some markets. I mean, I'm sure. I think I've heard Minnesota. That's a huge one out there. I'm sure California, ones like that. I mean, California, I guess makes sense, but I wouldn't have thought Minnesota when I first heard that. So,
Yeah,
it's just, I guess, an interesting topic and something that would take a little bit more deep dive in to see why people just like decks more in certain areas than others. I don't know, but yeah, just interesting to kind of see. So, is there anything else that you'd want to say, related to TimberTech, new innovations, anything you'd like to share as we kind of wrap up here,
yeah.
besides
Just
framing?
one topic I didn't hit on when we were talking about our loyalty program, the board. I got so into talking about delivering leads. There's other benefits to the loyalty program. We if you log your jobs in and submit invoices through that program, we you accrue marketing funds through us, and the more you do, the more you get. So that's a nice element of the program. We also have a lot of training and education that's through the program. So you or your crews want to learn the specifics of installing TimberTech products. That's all part of it. We have great events, which I think you talked about a little bit, Alex. And then lastly, just like networking our contractors with other contractors, one of the things that we spend a lot of time on is learning about companies similar to you that offer services and value to our contractors. And I think it's been awesome to see the value you've delivered, Alex, to a lot of the companies you work with. So if we have a contractor that's saying, "Hey, I need help with my marketing," like we'll give that referral. And there's a lot of partner programs that we have as a part of the board loyalty. I'm not gonna list them all, but like that's an area that we focus on a lot of like what are the services that our contractors need to grow their business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, that network's absolutely massive for you guys, I'm sure. There's always somebody that knows somebody for just about anything. And yeah, I mean, anybody that's trying to get to that next level, and I mean, I see this constantly, is just people do not have like a group, or other people that are dealing with the same thing, and especially in the same industry. So, being part of different groups and reaching out to people is so important. I mean, I don't even know where I would be if I didn't have other people that were willing to help me and, try to pay it forward as well to help anybody that's trying to move up too. But yeah, there's no shortage of people that are willing to help. I mean, even on this podcast, it's crazy, people that are just, legends in the industry or saying just feel free to reach out, give me a text. They're not hiding their numbers, and I think everybody should take advantage of that. There's always something you can learn from just about anybody. But um, Jason, is there any additional things you'd like to add? Before we kind of wrap up here.
No, Alex, thanks for having me on. We're honored to partner with you. And maybe one final comment that I'd leave for your audience is we're pretty excited at kind of the James Carty company to have a really phenomenal sales team to support our contractors out there. So we have over 400 sellers out in the market that are looking to support you. So please reach out to me or reach out to them. We'd love to support you guys in any way. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, what's the best way if somebody's interested? Just go to the website, or how do they reach out and find somebody?
One, signing up for the board that immediately connects you. If you don't know someone in your market already, I mentioned our contractor survey that goes out. My email is on that. It goes out to 5,000 contractors, all of which are logged into the signed into the board at one point or not. And so my email address is out there if you'd like to reach out to me or reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah. So you can just Google, TimberTech loyalty board, or sorry, loyalty program, and you should be able to find there. Join in. You said it's free, right? So there's no real restriction, anything like that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, check that out and see what some of the new products and yeah, just take a look. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on here, Jason. And as always, it's good to see you. And going forward with the podcast, got some new shows that are going to be coming out here as well. We got a pretty big queue right now, actually. So hope everyone's enjoying it. Right now, at the time of recording, we're in June. So if things are not going the way that you wanted, we've had a lot of people reach out that these years tend to be tougher as we get more further away from COVID. So if things are not going the way you wanted so far for the year and you're not changing anything up and you want some ideas, feel free to reach out. We can do an audit. We can go through everything you have. We'll create a plan based off what you want specifically and go from there. So just reach out through our website, deckfencemarketers.com. And that's it. Yeah. Jason, again, appreciate you coming on here, sharing all this. I know everyone listening got a lot of value from it. So, take care, man. And we'll be talking soon.
Thanks, Alex. Take care.
All right.